Hi, Dave.
Hi, Erik.
Hey, Dave. Do we curse on this podcast?
Yes, Erik. Yes, we do.
Test. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Erik.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hi, everyone. Erik here. Welcome back to Adventures in Collecting. Today, it is going to be another interview. Last week, I had the opportunity to sit down with a man whose work you're all probably very familiar with. His name is Gregory Titus, and he is the master artist behind all of the art that you see, or almost all of the art you see, on the Star Wars Black Series figure line. He's been doing it for a very long time. And as many of you have posted in the comments on his posts on Instagram, he is very integral as to why that line is so collectible on card. So without further ado, here's the interview with Greg Titus. Enjoy. Greg, thank you so much for joining me today on the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
It's my pleasure, man. It's great to be here.
Before we jump into everything, we always like to ask our guests, what kind of toys do you collect? And if you don't collect toys, what do you collect?
I'm pretty. I used to collect all kinds of toys, and then I slimmed it down to just the occasional Black Series toys, and it's more. It has less to do with the toys and more along the lines of like some of the illustrations that I really enjoyed doing. Just things that resonated with me, and it's hard to describe. Like just illustrations that I like doing, and sort of like in some way, sort of have a personal story, and so it's just the ones that I enjoy doing the most. I just grab them at the store when they come out, and and those are the ones that are special to me.
So for those that haven't picked up on it yet, Greg, you do all of the art. Is it all of the art for literally all of the Black Series figures, or is it just a select few? Because it seems like that art is very unique to you and the way that you create these portraits.
I believe it's probably like 98 or 99%. I think during the Last Jedi, they had someone or a different studio do the like the single figure Porg, and I was super upset about it.
Oh man, my brother's gonna be so bummed. That's literally his favorite creature in Star Wars is the Porg.
I got to do a Porg when I did the Galaxy's Edge montages, and I was like, yes, finally the goddamn Porg. And I don't know who did the Porg for the normal one, but I looked at it and I was like, somebody was like, they tagged me on the internet like, oh, great Greg Titus artwork, and I was like, don't you dare, that's not mine.
That is not my Porg. So how did you get involved with the Star Wars IP and this, now this very 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 collectible toy line?
Let's see, in like 2007 or 2008, I was working freelance, and then I got contacted by this company called Pilot, and who does they did tons of Star Wars work, but it's like a branding agency, and they they done tons of GI Joe stuff and all kinds of things, because the two guys that started it worked at Hasbro before they went off on their own, and I started freelancing with them, doing some stuff for the first GI Joe movie with Channing Tatum. And then I just slowly started picking up more work from them, and then they decided to start trying to have an in-house illustrator. So they moved me from Chicago to Boston, and I started over there. And I don't know, maybe 2 years later, the very first Black Series illustrations came in, and they were the ones that were just the circle in the corner. And so that year, I didn't do all of them. It was me and a couple other guys. And so I think I probably only did 25 that year. And, and then the I think that went on for 2 years, but then when The Force Awakens happened, uh, I pitched a different style, and that got picked up as more or less what you guys see every day, and then it just snowballed from there, man.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty undeniable that that red and black box, around the time of the Force Awakens, when the style of the packaging changed from, I think it was originally there was like blue and then there was orange, um, but when it changed to that black and red box with the almost grayscale artwork on it, instantly it became, you know, more people were leaving them, in the box, or if they were taking them out of the box, you see these, these collectors that have, a collection of boxes alongside of the opened figures. It's absolutely iconic to the line, which I'm sure you hear all the time. But
You would be amazed the amount of work that the company that I worked for at the time, Pilot. I mean, they did all the branding and all the box design and everything, and they went through hundreds and hundreds of box designs. I mean, I can't even tell you. They just, between them and Hasbro, and they just went back and forth for months and months on it. So it finally ended up there, and then they approved the illustration style, and off it went.
now, when it comes to something like Star Wars, did you seem to have an affinity for some of the characters and for kind of the franchise itself? Was it something that you were like you've always wanted to work on, or something that you were super excited to work on, or was it just kind of another job for you?
Oh, I was been a Star Wars fan for my whole life. Uh, like I had tons of Star Wars toys when I was a kid. I had the Dagobah set when I was a kid with the little styrofoam quicksand in it that you could put Luke in.
Very
Uh,
nice.
so like it was it was a dream come true to just to get to work on it. Before the Black Series started, I got to do like some of the trade dress illustrations, that are across the top of the box, and that all by itself was super exciting. And then, sort of getting, uh, my style of illustrations to be, you know, across an entire line was amazing. Like it's weird because it didn't feel like it at first, when we were just doing the little circle illustrations, and then when the Force Awakens happened, and it just kind of snowballed into this enormous thing, and it's a little bit of a life changer.
Yeah, I can imagine. You mentioned, your specific style of art, and I think that's something that's not only unique to the line, but something that makes kind of those boxes special. You have a very unique style of art, and to me, it's instantly recognizable. How did you develop that style?
um, well, I started off as a comic book artist, and I mean, and you can see little hints of it in there. I mean, obviously, push towards the realistic end of things. Um, when I was in college, I tried to do a lot of scratchboard work, which is basically like taking a fully inked surface and then scratching the whites out of it. And when I was thinking about pushing this style, it seemed something that would be very natural to something called the Black Series, and so I kind of researched back into that a little bit, and there was an artist named Mark Summers that did a ton of beautiful, beautiful illustrations for Barnes and Noble in the late '90s of famous authors, and they're all done in that scratchboard style, which is basically like etching these small, intricate, very delicate lines out of basically a pre-inked surface. And so it's sort of based around that, but with a little bit more thick to thin featherings. And he does it white out of black, and then I do it basically the way that I was taught to do comic books, was just to ink it normally. So I just draw it and then ink the whole thing. So it's the same thing, just in reverse.
Yeah, and I mean it works perfectly, and following you on Instagram, I've seen stuff outside of Star Wars as well, and I with the recent passing of Kobe Bryant, I saw that you had posted an image of him in that style, and it's just there's something that's so attractive about like the use of the negative space and the way that you kind of frame it up. It's almost a shame sometimes that the box art like cuts off pieces of people's heads, and
Yeah,
it, that you have to work within that constraint.
I like to post stuff on Instagram because a lot of times you don't get to see how much illustration there actually is. And like sometimes, depending on what it is, like I will do a head down to the waist, and then it ends up being just like a shoulder and a head, and you're like, there's half of the illustration missing. And like it's a weird thing. Like I started doing them so they were very specific to fit just on the box. And then Hasbro started using them for things like banners for cons and stuff like that. And then I would see these big banners done, and then you see like this character just cut off unceremoniously in the middle. So I started to just try to finish them out in every direction as much as I can, just so they could have a little bit more choices to make when they're doing that sort of thing.
Yeah. And like the characters, especially in something like Star Wars, like they range from especially now with like the deluxe Black Series figures, like the Emperor Palpatine that just came out, where the window on the box almost can change depending on the type of figure. Everything from like a Gamorrean guard, which has much more of a head to it than some of the other characters, to a clone trooper. It's so interesting to see some of these characters that have never been um you, you know uh outside of a cartoon with this kind of like lifelike negative space drawing. It's I find it mesmerizing. I really do.
Yeah, some of the ones that the characters that have never been in a movie are usually the hardest to do. Like things that, because you're not allowed to do the cartoon version of things. So like when I do an Ezra, like I have to kind of make it up, and so there's a 3D model that they have for the toy, and then sometimes somebody from Lucasfilm has, they've got an actor or an actress in mind, but a lot of times they don't want you to do that, because what if they end up casting them in a movie for something, and then you've already got a Black Series figure with a chosen actor or actress on that person's character. So it's a strangely complicated thing for something that should be relatively simple.
Holy shit, I never thought about that. Like it's like I now I'm picturing him in my head, with the older Ahsoka Tano, the one from the way that she looks in the Rebels TV show. Like I can almost picture a conversation. It's like, yeah, we're like kind of like Rosaria Dawson, but like definitely not Rosaria Dawson.
I That's actually funny that you mentioned that one, because I have done that work for her for two different companies. Like we did jobs at Pilot for a company called Konami that did a Star Wars trading card set, and Ahsoka was one of those cards. And so they were in contact with Lucasfilm, obviously, and so I would do drawings of Ahsoka, and then Dave Filoni would draw over the top of my drawing and then send it back. And it was like from Dave Filoni to Japan to our studio, and they had different actresses that they wanted her to look like, but not exactly like. And then we did the same thing all over again when she, obviously for Clone Wars, and it was equally a nightmare then.
So do you working on these projects, do you get to interact with some of the more like notable people from Lucasfilm, like that on a semi regular basis, or is it kind of just on certain special projects?
Absolutely not. I am I am hidden back in a cave. It seems like it's so glamorous. It is absolutely not. I am in a desk in a studio. I don't even have emails with those folks. Like nothing.
Damn.
I have a director that is sort of the outward contact to both Hasbro and Lucasfilm. Although Hasbro does come to the studio periodically, and I would, obviously if they're there, I get to talk to them. But like I don't, I mentioned like, oh, the Dave Filoni drew over my drawings. I never talked to him. I just literally he emailed somebody else with a drawing over my drawing. It's seriously, it's everybody. I'm sure everybody on the internet is like, oh, I love this job. It seems, like me and you and McGregor are hanging out. Like, oh, let me take a snap of you. Like it's not like that at all. It is 8 nerds in a room. We're all just talking Star Wars and video games, and like it's not glamorous in any way.
So speaking of video games, you just did Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order, and for the most recent like Force Friday release. Is that kind of the same process as doing one of the characters that's from from one of the cartoon series, or is there a little more in terms of like modeling and like things that you have access to, in order to kind of nail that look?
That one was a little bit easier because the some of the pre-production on that game was sent to us as reference. So I saw some of the designs earlier on. Uh, so like you could kind of, I don't know, it's nice to have that instead of just working from a 3D model. And because those are the 3D models we get are the ones that are for the figures, obviously.
Yeah.
And so, they're not detailed in a way that pre-production photography is. Like you know, you look at an action figure face. If you take the painting off it, it is hard to figure out who it
Oh
is.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
And so like when you do that kind of stuff, it can be very nebulous on the likeness. So like it was nice to, I didn't know who the actor was at the time that was playing Cal Kestis. I only found out afterwards. But I did have a few like digital paintings of him that helped me kind of figure out the likeness a little bit better.
So in terms of working on all these characters, there's such a wide array. You mentioned at the top of the show that you kind of go out and collect the ones that have some kind of special meaning to you, or something that was important or that you particularly enjoyed. I know today we're recording this episode on what is today, February 6th. You posted a nice little thing about Wedge Antilles today.
I That seemed to generate some heat.
I mean, no, I
I,
did
I did.
not think it was a hot take. I thought it was like you're on point. I mean, the guy's the hero, the blue collar hero of the rebellion for sure.
I There's a couple people coming in hot. Like I was hating on like the new trilogy, and I
Star Wars
absolutely
Star
loved.
Wars fans coming in hot. Are you serious?
And I was like, man, you gotta cool down a little bit, man. That's not what I was saying. Like easy. And they were like, "You old timers, you only like the original trilogy." And I was like, "What are you talking about? That's not what I was saying."
Man, you got okay boomered by Star Wars fans.
I absolutely did. I am that age, so it's fine. And boomer away. I don't give a shit.
No, but that brings up a good point though. What are some of the characters that you've gotten to take a stab at that like really mean something to you? Which are the ones that you've either like really loved drawing or like ones that you've really looked forward to?
Let's see. I loved when I started doing solo was basically when I first kind of started relying more on a digital method of doing things, and it opened up a lot of options for me as far as being able to do these things, like just having the luxury to zoom in and zoom out and stuff like that, as opposed to just inking on an 11 by sheet of paper, where like you can only get lines so tight. So like starting to digital ink for me was a big deal, and so some of those first ones that came out of solo were some of my favorites, just because they were the first ones where I felt like this is how I wanted it to look this whole time. Like there's more precision, there's more exactness. Like I just wanted to be able to do better the whole time. And when I started doing things digitally, originally I started to do it because of the speed aspect of things. Like I just needed to go faster because there were so many of them. And but getting to rely on Photoshop to be able to get very specific and get a certain amount of effects, like it's priceless when you're talking about the quality of an image. And so when I first started doing those, a lot of those ones, like uh the I forget what it's called, like the magnet troopers, the guys that walk on the
Oh,
train.
the range
uh
troopers, range troopers.
Range troopers, gotcha. I call them magnet troopers because they have magnet boots.
Perfect. I mean, that and the like pimp fur collar are like the two
Yes,
the two
yes.
most
I
recognizable features.
It's weird is like they're not called range troopers when I get them.
Oh, yeah.
They have code names. So like it's like we just make up names for them, and like that was he. All I knew about this dude is he had huge boots, and I was like, that must be walking on the train, and like that, and we just call them magnet troopers, or like they don't. A lot of times the code names are like cities or insects and shit. Like they don't have names like you and I
Yeah,
think of
makes
them.
it makes sense. I mean, they got to keep everything as under wraps as much as possible.
Yeah, that's becomes a very big deal, and the code names are uh, you like you have code names for the franchise itself, and then you have code names for Lucasfilm, and then you also have code names that don't always coordinate with Hasbro. So sometimes you have two sets of code names going to two different companies, filtering through one company and 27 people.
Yeah, I feel like Star Wars kind of started that back in the day with the whole, the wasn't the production of Empire Strikes Back, wasn't it called Blue Harvest?
Yes, yes, yes.
So they've just kept it
And
going.
yeah, and it has gone. So like I mean, it's meant, like when I worked at Pilot, the studio itself was in a huge building full of other offices and stuff like that. So like when you're just talking to one of your office buddies at the urinal, you can be like, "Oh, I was working on, you know, Blue Harvest and the Tokyo figure," and it ends up sounding like the last few minutes of a game of Clue. Like a, it's just Blue Harvest and with the Wacom tablet. It's a bad scene. It gets to be a lot.
I can imagine. Well, actually, you know what? I can't imagine.
It's there's just a like everything has a code name, and then everything has like a product number. So like when I would talk to the project manager, he'd be like, "How is 0115960?" And you're like, "What? I don't know." And then he'd be like, "Oh, Tokyo," and I'm like, "I still got nothing. What?"
Is it the one with the boots or not? Is that
Yeah, that's how you got to be. Oh, it's the guy with the fro and the jacket, and yeah, mag boots. And I'd be like, "Yes, I got him done on the server. Mag boots done."
So switching over to the digital end of things, that's where you're starting to get into the characters that you feel like you're achieving the level that you want to achieve with them.
Yeah.
What are some of the ones that have been particularly challenging?
Uh, what's her face from Solo?
Amelia Clark or Val?
The chick with the mask.
Oh, Enfys Nest.
Memphis Nest. Memphis Nest was probably the Memphis Nest speeder was probably my most challenging, but in my opinion, maybe my most successful illustration. That was easily one of my favorites to do, but the mechanisms like within that crazy speeder were, I mean, just it's a lot, and the whole thing is like in deep proportion. Like
Yep.
it was crazy. So it was a fun one to do, and but I was super happy with how it came out, and I got to be involved a little bit in like the how it sits on the box and stuff like that, and what exactly like her little staff like over goes, it kind of floats over the window panel and stuff like that, and it's fun when you get a pose approved, and if the pose is so good that they're gonna pay for a window die cut, you're like, man, that's awesome, I did my job good. Somebody's gonna pay an extra 3 cents a box for that awesome pose.
Yeah, and she has incredible detail too. That whole like she almost has like a tribal African kind of vibe to like a lot of things going on her mask and like the feathers and yeah.
Yeah, she's got a big coat, and then like her gauntlets sort of feather out almost like turkey feathers, and she's got like teeth or bones in a necklace, and I don't know. It's a great fun design, and man, that was one of my favorites.
Awesome. And it turned out gorgeous. That's, that was one of the ones. So full disclosure, I marvel at the Black Series figures every time I see them. I'm a 3 3/4 collector, that like original Kenner scale, only because I
Gotcha.
know if I buy a single one of those Black Series figures, two things are going to happen. I'm going to have no money, and I'm probably going to get divorced. So um I already have like 300 plus of the original, going back to like the early 90s, that when Hasbro first obtained the license and started producing them under initially under that Kenner name. That's when I started collecting them. And yeah, I just can't go back now. I can't start a new scale. So I every time I see one in the store, I'm like, wow, these are so fucking cool looking, but I just I can't commit.
Honestly, it's an amazing commitment, and every movie that comes out, like I get amazed at, you're like, how did you guys come up with 100 figures? Like I you know I think for the Force Awakens I ended up doing like 125 illustrations in that year,
Wow.
and like that's, there's only 160 business days in a year.
Yeah, that is
That's like,
wild. That is wild.
and like, so you're just basically doing one like every day and a half or 2 days or something like that, and like you're, it's
And is
it's a crazy amount of work, and then like you think of that from the collector's end, like at the 6 inches are what, $18 a figure, something like
Yep.
that. I can't
Yep, if
remember.
you're paying
And
if you're
then
paying retail, you're paying 20 bucks a figure for a regular one and anywhere between
you
25 and
know
30 for a deluxe.
like you're talking about, thousands of bills. You talk about rent payments,
For
like
sure.
what's a car payments down the drain.
Yeah.
And like I am a collector only in the most modest of terms, and I just, you go down that road, and it gets to be an addiction, and then you're, you know being being an artist, you can't throw that money away like that.
And
The
believe
shit
it
could
or
end at any time.
and believe it or not, people are buying sometimes two of each because they like to keep one on card and then they like to open one to pose it. So like there are some people that are double dipping for each figure, which is I just I can't wrap my head around it. It is
Honestly,
wild.
God bless those guys. They are literally keeping, like they would stop making Star Wars movies if the action figures cease to sell. And literally, I think those guys pay for like the last 30 minutes of a movie. Like,
Well, you're talking right to them. So thank you, fellow collectors.
you know, thank you guys. Everyone go and thank those guys because they're paying for the last 20 minutes of special effects in any movie.
Yeah. So, all right. So we have your favorite. We have your the changeover to digital. I know talking about future and like potential future figures is dangerous territory, so we're not going to go into the realm of like what character do you wish you could draw from Star Wars, because I know that can be a very, very slippery slope. So if there
I can do past ones that I've never gotten to do.
Okay, yeah, let's do
Uh,
that. Is there a character that already exists that is not in any sort of danger territory that you would love to take a stab at?
Honestly, man, there was when I saw Rogue One, I was so pumped to Saw Gerrera's like whole squad is like crazy aliens.
Yeah, Adrio Two
There's like
Tubes, all those guys.
yeah, that big white Yeti dude with a Gatling gun, and I was like, these guys are gonna be awesome. I can't wait till they get to my list, and they never showed. Like I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I at least expected for someone to hit me with, like, give me a San Diego Saw Gerrera, something like that. Like I really thought, like, how do you not do Saw?
Yeah. One
And
of the rare instances in Disney era Star Wars where there are figures for Saw Gerrera, Marof, who is the big white Yeti guy, and Adrio Two Tubes, who's one of the henchmen. Those actually exist in the 3 3/4 scale, but not the Black Series, which is usually in the Disney era. It's the other way around. The Black Series gets those figures, and the little ones don't. So
yeah,
yeah, they got the shaft.
so I'm a little pissed, like yeah. So I think Saw Gerrera. I'd love to get a crack at him. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a few guys here and there, but I mean, most of the ones that are really cool, I've gotten to take a crack at. Like most of the bounty hunters and stuff. Those are some of my favorite guys to do. Guys like Bosk and Forlom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anybody that's cool and weird looking. Like just the humans and stuff are fun, but you're just you're just trying to like match up to a photo for the most part. Like you're just trying to hit that likeness and that's the game.
Mhm.
But when you're dealing with a alien or like a robot assassin or something like that, like people are going to know who it is just because of the shapes. Like it's you're not mistaking Forlom for Han Solo.
Yep.
Like it's
Yep.
so like when you get to do stuff like that, that's when you get to like, I'm going to make this guy. I don't have to make people recognize him because they're gonna.
Yep.
I just have to make this thing as cool as I can, and that's when it's the most fun. Is when you get to stop worrying about the likeness, and the only thing you have to worry about is making it awesome.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into my next point here, which is, a lot of times, especially, in today's day and age with the internet being the cruel creature that it is, these a lot of times with especially with the movies and like there are subreddits out there that are dedicated specifically to leaks and like data mining and trying to find like what's coming on the horizon before the powers that be are ready to let everyone see. And unfortunately, that's how we met. Ugh, I hate to say it, like, oh, it hurts because like we had just started our Instagram account and we're following the other accounts that are out there, and I've been a collector for a long time, so like I know the guys who post stuff, and man, my heart sank. It absolutely sank. So for context, there was a series of figures. I'm not going to name them because some of them still have not been announced. Um, and your wonderful art I could mention one of them actually because it is officially announced. The Jedi Revan with like that flash of like purple on the art
Yes.
that was
Yes.
among them. Um, and I saw, a fellow blogger had sent it out, and I shared the post and was like, "Oh, this is cool," and then went to bed. Only to wake up in the morning to find that they had posted like, the artist, behind these had requested that we take them down. They're not ready to be seen yet, and Instagram buried your message in the like request, like put you in request jail. And and granted, I saw the post from the original blog who posted it, and we went right into our account, took the post down everywhere that we had posted it, and posted the same thing, just saying like, hey, you may have seen something, you know, it's coming, sorry, we had to take it down. And thankfully, I'm very thankful that you had reached out because it's true in this day and age. These leaks have an impact. Like they impact more than just the plans of Hasbro. They impact the people who are involved in the creation, and that's got to be extremely difficult. I can't imagine working under that kind of pressure.
Yeah, it can be a little stressful, and and I don't think, you know, as a fan, it's tough to be objective. I think to that point, like everybody wants to know more, and everybody, as a person that runs uh, a action figure driven blog or something like that, you want to be a person that can disseminate that information. You want to be a person that's in the know, and so I understand the attraction to that, and and it's no small thing, like, because that in itself has good consequences for those people. You get more followers, you get more business, and that's how the game is played. And but the other end of that is, there's there's a person who, you know whose livelihood could very well possibly be on the line, and and not even mine. Like, it's, like, they're, you know people that are in charge of the social media of Star Wars and Hasbro and stuff like that. Like, those people are gonna get, you get your feet held to the fire.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes it's not a big deal, and like it, you know but in I've been involved, and fortunately that one did not go any farther than that.
Thankfully,
And
thankfully, thankfully.
but yeah, but I've had situations before that have actually been not in the wrong at all, go completely wrong, and go all the way up the legal chain, uh to where it gets to be a crazy thing. uh I don't know if you remember this or not, but like, maybe a year or two ago, I put up a process video on how to draw a Black Series, and it was Hammerhead.
Yeah.
Someone had had a personal commission, asked for me to do a Black Series Hammerhead drawing, and I was like, fucking, I love Hammerhead, let's do it. And I wanted to be able to show people how I do it, so I did the pencil on Procreate, because it logs all your pencil strokes. And so I did the whole thing there and showed the process, and then put it up on my Instagram. And a few guys took it as gospel, and lit the internet on fire
That Hammerhead was coming.
with for that Hammerhead was the new thing. And like, I was like, there's no way this can come back on me. It is not a thing. And I was like, it is flagrantly not. I'm not leaking anything. I said it in my post. It's a commission. There's no way it can come back on me. And literally, it went on fire. And then some Hasbro guys got it. Some Lucasfilm lawyers called it. And they called my boss, who was on vacation,
Ugh.
on the beach,
Ugh.
and literally called the studio while at dinner with his wife or something like that, furious.
Oh no.
Take it down. And I'm like, and it's, no one was at fault there, but like, somebody was like, hey, here's a leak from Gregory Titus. And I'm like, it's not a leak, it's not a leak. And, but even just saying it sometimes can, like that's the power of the internet. It's the power of, like mob rule, like like you put that information out there and everybody swarms it, and then it goes even further, and then all of a sudden you're making a problem out of nothing.
And that sucks too, because I mean that's also and that was actually going to be one of my questions is do you ever do commission work based on the style of art that you do for the Black Series? And like, it's got to be like I'd imagine you'd get nervous now about something like that.
They don't. Uh, to my knowledge, they don't care about the like original art. You're just doing like private seller to private buyer kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's when people push beyond that, where you're like making prints and stuff like that, and then selling those prints in mass. Then there's a potential there for you to take money out of pocket. Like
Yeah.
when I do a personal commission that someone's going to hang in their house for $500, like nobody gives a shit about $500. It's Disney.
Yeah.
But somebody sells $25,000 worth of, Grand Moff Tarkin prints. It's another story. Like that's, you gotta, there's
A fine line.
it is a fine line. I have a friend who is a lawyer, and he was like, I'm not sure exactly how art law goes. He's like, there's something in there about the First Amendment. And I was like, all right, fine. He's a lawyer, he makes a lot of money. I'm assuming he knows what he's talking about. Maybe he doesn't. And there's, there could be lawyers out in my yard. I don't know.
Well, again with this situation, thank you for teaching us a very valuable lesson, and that's something that we care about. Part of being a podcast and a blog when it comes to this stuff is I think it's important to maintain journalistic integrity. That's something that I studied when I was in school, was journalism, and I try to apply that to what we do. And that was one of those moments where I let the fandom kind of rise above the journalistic integrity part of it. So again, thank you for that reminder to keep that in mind. And we absolutely have, because there's been other stuff that has since then that has crossed my plate, and I've been like, nope, absolutely not posting that.
You know what? Like in most, my only thing is like, hey, if you have a question about posting it, dude, hit me up. You can email me, you can Instagram me, whatever. You got something you want to talk about or send out to your followers, I will be happy to let you know if it's okay. And like, seriously, like if it's, I'll, and sometimes I don't even know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I do a little bit of correspondence with the guy that runs the Star Wars The Black Series Instagram. And he, of course, is very, very aware of when things are released and blah, blah, blah. And he has actually come to my aid quite a few times when I have posted something that wasn't quite released yet. And, like it's difficult to know sometimes, like when things are out and when things are not, because sometimes things get leaked and then they disseminate so fast that you just assume that it's common knowledge.
Yeah.
And, that is can cause problems.
There's actually a situation right now, like as of today, that's happening where there's stuff hitting shelves in Walmart in the middle of the country. I think I saw stuff on shelves in Ohio where it's out there. People are buying it and bringing it home, and they have not been officially announced yet.
Is that the probe droid
The
one?
probe droid and the 40th anniversary of the Empire Strikes Back series of figures.
Oh, gotcha.
They bought the whole wave and the probe droid.
Oh, Walmart.
Yeah. And it's like, thanks, Ohio. Toy Fair isn't for another 2 weeks.
Right? You're blowing it. Not really, though.
Yeah.
In the end, it doesn't really matter. It's no one's really getting hurt. Are you really affecting the Disney bottom line? It's pretty doubtful.
If anything, I think sometimes, at least with stuff like that, like leaked art is one thing, but like when a toy hits shelves before it's supposed to, eh, two things are happening. One, you're generating more hype because like one guy's got it and he's like, look at all these cool pictures I'm taking of this toy. And
Exactly.
two, they're still buying the toy. So, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's an art to things nowadays as far as that sort of thing goes, and I think all of us are pretty aware of sort of controlled leaks and
yes,
stuff like
yes,
that.
yes.
And to the point where the trailers for movies often have false information
Yep,
for them, and those are basically controlled leaks to lead you in the wrong
yep.
direction. And so those kind of things, they they can often make tons of money. Like it's just how it goes, and you don't, you're, I think they did something like that for The Force Awakens, where what is the character with the big disc on his head?
Oh, Zuvio,
Zuvio, Constable
Constable
Zuvio.
Zuvio.
And I remember, I was pumped about Constable Zuvio. That was one of my first illustrations of like a crazier guy, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, that's amazing. And then I forget what it was, maybe Entertainment Weekly or something, and they had pictures up and down of Constable
Yep.
Zuvio, and I was like, this is amazing. He is going to be like a main character. And literally, they released Constable Zuvio, and people bought it like crazy. And I don't even know if he was in the movie.
Not in the movie. I think like there's one of those scenes where they're on Jakku, I think like when the TIE fighters start bombing Rey and Finn,
Yeah,
I think he's
yeah,
like in the background.
he's like buying a milkshake at the store
Yeah.
when everybody's running by, and and that's one of those things. And I don't know, and maybe it was an accident, but you basically advertise something, and sort of, put a certain amount of media behind it, and it gave it a massive propellant in sales, and then everybody was like, fucking Constable Zuvio, yeah, and then
And now
nothing.
he's a meme.
Yeah, exactly. And that sort of thing is, it's more prevalent now because of the power of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Those things that get leaked, like that is more powerful than a commercial on TV, because of the viral nature of things.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like so we have talked a lot about Star Wars. We have talked about a lot about the Black Series, and especially your Instagram account has kind of been like the linchpin, for all of this. Like you said, putting out the extra, the extra size art and everything. But I feel like I would be terribly remiss if I did not ask you about your 22-pound cat that was blocking you from Black Series prints on Instagram,
All right.
because
We
that is a very large cat, and she
it's a boy.
okay.
His name is Jackson. My wife calls him Sir Jackson Floofington. He also has his own Instagram account.
Oh no shit, I gotta follow that.
Yes, at Jackson and Samantha. You can often see them running around my studio. Um, yeah, he's a lot, man. When a couple years ago, my when I first when my wife and I had first moved in together, she had a much older cat, and when we lost her, we ended up getting this new cat, and I have experience with house cats, but I didn't know really even what the fuck a Maine Coon cat was. And so she's like, "Oh, yeah, look at what they look like, and they get big." And I was like, "Cool, let's get one." It's the cat. And yeah, he's we got him as a kitten, and he is as a kitten he was 8 or 9 pounds, which is basically the size of a full-grown cat normally.
Yeah.
and so it's just a very strange thing because it looks like a kitten, but
The
it's,
size of a cat.
fucking huge. And then and then over the course of a year or two, or he's like 2.5 now, something like that. And so he's 22 pounds right now, maybe 23, but he's still got another 2 years to go of growth
Oh,
time.
no shit.
So he's gonna get another couple pounds on him, I think. So they grow really fast, I guess, for the first year or two, and then it kind of slows down, but keeps going for like 5 years. So, you get instances of some of these cats. I think they average out around 25, but you can get a 30-pound fucking Maine Coon.
Well, he
And
definitely adds some character to your Instagram feed. That's for sure.
I mean, he is a. It's hard to tell you, man. He screams at night, like he wants to get fed at 4 o'clock, maybe 10 after 4 every morning. And I tried to train him out of it and like outlast him, and I can't. He literally he will just sit there and scream, like he just doesn't give up. And then so this cat, like, I just do whatever it says. Like he wants to get fed, and because he just will, it's like an alarm clock that you can't shut off at 4 in the morning. And he, like, you could chase him around and he'll just outrun you and keep screaming. And so I just get up at 10 after 4, quarter after 4 every morning, feed that little fucker, and then go back to bed.
Well, when you posted that video again, it was either today or yesterday of him laying on you kept moving the papers higher and higher, and when
Yeah,
you posted the video of him like swatting at you while you were trying to get the papers, I was walking around my office today going, look at the size of this fucking cat, and
yeah,
my
man.
my
He's
one friend was like, oh, he's not getting those papers back.
no. Like you legit, like, if he wants something, you have to wait until he's sick of it or goes to bed. And like, he likes to be on my drawing desk because it's right in front of a window, and
And cats like to sit
so
in the
we
sun.
moved out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we moved out to like this kind of sub-rural section of Massachusetts a couple months ago, and so there's tons of like wildlife outside. There's just birds and just giant hawks everywhere, and squirrels and chipmunks and raccoons, and they just fucking run around. And he goes crazy, crazy. Like, he makes the weirdest alien noises, like these chatters. He will literally bang his face against the window.
Wow.
If you ever get a good look at him on Instagram, you can see one of his front canines is broken because he has smashed himself into the window so many times. Yeah, he's a lot, man.
Wow. Yeah, what a character. You should I
He
think
is.
I actually suggested it in one of the comments one time when you were asking like what do you want to see me draw? And you got to draw the cat. At some point at
No,
some point we need a Jackson. We need a Jackson drawing.
I I do little sketches of him in my notebook all the time. I'll post one.
Good, good, good. And speaking of posting, where can we find you on Instagram?
Uh, shit. It's just at Gregory Titus, and my you know you can go and hang out with my cats and dogs, and they are at Jackson and Samantha. And I have normal stuff like a website. It's literally just gregorytitus.com, stuff like that.
Awesome.
I haven't done huge things like join Twitter yet. I'm a little scared of it.
You know what? Without getting into the politics of things, I think you're better off. Instagram is the better platform for you. To be honest,
I
I think
uh,
you should just.
I feel like there's just a lot of like erupting fires on Twitter sometimes, and things get out of hand. And I think with with Star Wars, that thing can
Yeah,
just, it's like a landslide.
yeah.
I don't want to be in front of it.
No, you don't want to be in front of it. You don't want to be adjacent to it. Just it's
Yeah,
not worth it.
look, I have a slightly precarious situation where, like, you're in a great spot with a job and a career and stuff like that, and like you do the wrong thing, and it's like getting hit by a truck.
Shit, man, you posted an innocuous image of Wedge today, who is like a beloved Star Wars character, and you somehow managed to catch shit for it. Just think of what would have happened on Twitter. It just
I
it's
mean,
not worth it.
I was pretty fired up about Wedge getting overlooked, but you know, people ran into that like it was a house on fire, and it went awry.
Yeah.
Uh,
I still
you
can't get
know,
over
you
that.
just,
I was reading through the comments
you,
and I was like, is this real life? Is this actually happening?
yeah, man. There's just a few guys on there that they just look for that opportunity to jump in, and they're just rabid tigers. They're just like, here's the information that I know. Scratch.
Oh, Jesus.
So, but man, you gotta love those guys because they're passionate about stuff, and like those are the folks that keep this thing running. You just gotta be careful not to get on their bad
It's true.
side.
You're not wrong. Well, Greg, listen, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and for getting on here and talking about the amazing stuff that you do. Seriously, like, I know I mentioned it to you several times, but your artwork is part of what makes the Black Series line as iconic as it is. I mean, it's without question. The figures are great, and Hasbro does an incredible job with the sculpts, and they keep getting better and better. But for the people that like to collect on card, and even for the people that don't, because the boxes can be opened and the figure can be taken out and the box can be saved, the art is just incredible. So thank you so much for what you do for for the line, and for us, the fans, really. Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azzari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.